Chapter 4 The Truth. After the successful demo at work, Sam needed some overdue rest and relaxation. She took a few days off of work. She could sleep in, watch her favorite TV shows, and just get some fresh air. After spending a while on the couch, she decided to take a walk around her neighborhood. "It's a nice sunny day today. Let's get some exercise and fresh air," Sam thought to herself. Sam always enjoyed taking walks. There's something refreshing about a nice breeze on a sunny spring day. It's especially invigorating when you spend your days sitting at a desk in front of a computer. Plus, she never really got to know her neighborhood since moving for her new job. After spending a while walking around a few blocks, she decides to be a little more adventurous. "I wonder where this direction will take us," Sam pondered. She gazed towards a street with a nice small row of houses and lots of trees. Most of the homes are similar. None of them are painted with flashy colors, and all the yards are well maintained. Each one has a few trees next to the sidewalk. After walking for a while, something does catch her eye. "That pickup truck is pretty old," Sam notices as she's approaching the driveway. "It's just so rusty." A closer inspection seems to show that there are a few specks of blue paint left on it. "Can I help you?" Sam notices a woman standing at the top of the driveway, scowling at her. She glanced over at the mailbox at the end of the driveway. It has the name Harris written on it. "Oh, I'm sorry to be a bother, Mrs. Harris. I was just admiring your truck." "Oh, that was my father's truck. I've kept it all these years for sentimental reasons. It's just so interesting, and I feel like I should know this truck for some reason." "That's strange," the woman said curiously. After a brief silence, Sam exclaimed, "Oh, I remember. It's from this silly ghost story the guys at work tell about an old janitor that used to work there. He always had this truck there, and it was kind of similar to this one. He disappeared, and they said the truck was just left there." "Huh? I didn't realize my dad was that popular." Sam was a bit shocked to hear that last statement. "You mean that Jonathan Browsley is your father?" The woman asks, "Would you like to come inside for a bit? I'd love to hear more of these stories about my father. I just miss him so much." Sam agrees and enters the Harris household. Both women sit in a living room. "Can I get you something to drink? Maybe some tea?" Sam nods. "My name is Jennifer Harris. Browsley is my maiden name. And you are?" "Sam Evans." "It's nice to meet you, Sam. Can you tell me more work stories about your father?" Sam attempts to tell Jen as many stories as she can remember while they drank tea together. "And there was this one time that he removed the giant wasp's nests with his bare hands, and someone told me that he once single-handedly defeated an army of ninjas that was attacking the building. Although I'm not sure about that one, to be honest." Jen, very amused, laughed and replied, "My father was a great man, but it seems like he posthumously gained some fabled attributes. He would have loved to know all this. He was quiet, but always wanted to be remembered as someone who did good things. He had a good sense of humor, too. It was always just really hard on him after my mother died. Let me tell you a few truthful things about him. You might appreciate hearing it, and you can also let your coworkers know he was more human than mythical." Jen continued, "My father had fought in World War II. He had received a Medal of Honor for his accomplishments. It was always one of his proudest achievements. Sometime after coming home, he met my mother. I like to believe it was love at first sight, though she might have told you otherwise. My father always said she loved pulling his leg. Regardless, once they fell in love, they never fell out. They got married not too long after meeting, and then got pregnant with me. Unfortunately, there were some complications during birth, and my mother didn't make it. I never got to know her." "I'm very sorry to hear that," Sam said sympathetically. "It's okay. It was harder on my father than it was on me. She was the only woman he ever loved. He never dated anyone else. I don't think he even really thought of any other women besides her. I think that's why he worked so hard at that job. It was something that could take his mind off of his loss. He never asked for much pay or anything. Just being able to forget the pain for any amount of time was enough pay for him. He wasn't always around, but he was there for the important things." I never knew how my father really felt about me. He never really showed his feelings much. I always had this little voice in my head telling me that he wished it was me who went instead of my mother. I never really listened to it, though. I know they had a special song, Jen continued. I never knew what it was, though. I think he would play it at work when no one else was around. I think just so he could relive dancing with my mother each time. He kept that truck all those years, too. They bought it together, so he could never let it go. To finish her recollections, Jen added, "It's just sad that they never found my father's body. I still have no idea what happened to him, and never getting any closure is something that I've just had to learn to accept. Your stories make me think how attached he was to working at that building after being there for so long. It's like he can't escape it, even after his death. Jen, thank you so much for your hospitality. I can't thank you enough for sharing your stories about your father. Even though he might not be as grand as the stories people tell about him, he seems like he was a truly amazing man." As Sam is departing from the Harris residence, Jen calls out to her, "You dropped something." Jen stops talking and stares at the lily petals on the ground next to Sam. "Oh, I found these at work the other day. I completely forgot that I had put them in my jacket pocket." "Those were my mother's favorite flowers," Jen said with a small tear in her eye. "I know because he would always bring me them every weekend and tell me my mom loved them, and that he just wanted me to think of her every time I saw them." Sam and Jen both shared a tearful hug and said goodbye to each other.